Welcome to the presidential debates. Welcome to the presidential debates. My name is Giacomo Amazon, and I will be your moderator this afternoon. The rules for this debate are as follows. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to state their position, and then 1 minute to do the rebuttal. I'd like to introduce the candidates. On the right, we have Manoela Costa, who represents the Republican Party. And on my left, we have Nicole Ribeiro, who represents the Democratic point of view. Today's topic is Black Lives Matter. And I will open the debate by asking the Democratic candidate, Nicole, the following question. You're not black. Remember, we only shoot black people, said a policeman to a white woman who had been stopped for a traffic violation earlier this year. Do you think that the Black Lives Matter movement is correct when it says that there is a real problem of police brutality against blacks in America?
Firstly, thank you for introducing me, Mr. Amazon. And yes, definitely. It's quite clear that African Americans are being intentionally and systematically targeted in the United States. It is an issue that should be confronted, as activists are doing in an attempt to fight for justice and equality. An analysis of FBI research proven a disproportionate difference between the races of police killings. 31% of the victims are black, while 52% of them are white. But the population, however, is made of only 13% of black people, while 63% white. The government has failed to properly address this issue. All those deaths that inspired the side of the protests and rallies should not be in vain. Mike Brown, Eric Gardner, Tammy Race, Freddie Gray, and so many others deserve justice. Most of the officers in those cases have been acquitted in trial, for there was not enough evidence. Even though for a lot of those cases there were videos, recordings, and pictures. Those people deserve a voice to speak out for what they believe. After all, in this country, their voice deserves to be listened. Is the freedom of speech? Now the protests may have quieted down, but the fight has not stopped. Alicia Garza, Patrice Coolers, and Oppo Tometi have together co-founded the Black Lives Matter network, with now 40 chapters and volunteers helping everywhere. Their work keeps empowering people to keep battling to overcome the injustice of today's system. It is undeniable that social media has played a very important part in connecting people from all over the world to join and help overcome this urgent matter. The activists protesting for a better system in which black individuals are given the same chances and judgment as white ones should not be silenced. They deserve a chance to speak for their beliefs. No violence needed. How can someone not see that black people are being discriminated against and even oppressed by police officers? Those who should protect and not hurt people. How is it wrong to express the American right to protest against such injustice?
Thank you, Nicole. Now for the Republican position, Manoela.
Thank you, Mr. Amazon. The movement Black Lives Matter should not be that relevant because there are more urgent issues to be considered, such as the fight against drugs and child abuse. Numbers of child abuse are significantly higher when compared with people killed by police officers, both black and white. 6.6 million children are abused per year in the United States versus 1,049 people killed by police officers. Remember, both black and white. Black people were 25% of those killed, but the number of black killed by the police compared to the number of white is actually higher because they are just 13% of the population. But when you compare the number of crimes committed by black people, the number of the deaths become proportional. Half of crimes in the United States is committed by black citizens. Also, Black Lives Matter is a very violent movement, At least 25 buildings in and around Ferguson, Missouri, were burned in the violence that followed the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement. Assata Shakur is an ideological guru of this movement. Actually, she is one of the FBI most wanted fugitives, accused of terrorism and killed cops. Martin Luther King said, "We must conduct our struggle always on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not let our creative protest degenerate into physical violence." Also, he said, "We cannot celebrate the day when all the children of God, black and white, Jews, Gentiles, Protestant, and Catholic, can join hands." But Black Lives Matter is dividing America. Islam's publicly various ban on blacks only meeting as racist. As Malcolm X said, Democrats just are in Washington, D.C. because they were elected by black voters. Black people put them in the first place, and the Democrats put them in the last. Jim Crow laws were created by Democrats. Why now do you guys support them?
Thank you, Manoela. Now you have 1 minute to rebut the Democratic position.
First, in 2016, only 3% of the black people killed last year were unarmed. If black police officers kill a black person, why is it discrimination at all? Daniel Levin Shaver was a white citizen killed by a black policeman in a hotel room in Cranberry, Texas. Now is wrong to protest against something that you don't agree. But when you use this protest in wrong way, you can parrot a lot of things. As I said, this movement is extremely violent. Its members are accused of threatening cops and even white people. The Black Lives Matter movement should give more space for other using issues. However, the members could continue the efforts to support the anti-racist fight without harm other lives. All lives matter.
Thank you, Manoela. Now for the Democratic rebuttal, you have 1 minute, Nicole.
Sure, there are several issues that deserve attention just as much as Black Lives Matter. But I believe this movement has received so much attention because it is an issue in other countries, not only the US. And with the help of social media, it could reach people worldwide and call attention to the injustice happening in the US today. A lot of people seem not to understand the real cause for this resistance. Of course, all lives matter. But the issue here is that black lives are being systematically targeted in a way that white lives are not. I trust that some of those crimes committed by black people are caused by the police oppression in their neighborhoods. Police officers misjudge people because of the color of their skin. This is wrong in so many levels. The protest in Ferguson, Missouri started non-violently and small, but when cops came and tear-gassed people, terrorizing them, they only made more individuals come to unite. Some violence came to fight the violence that came from officers, but that is not what this is about. Headlines are calling the movement for being anti-police, saying they want them dead. But as many people spoke out, this movement is not about hurting police officers. It's about holding them accountable for what they keep doing to African American people.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, thank you all. This concludes this round of the presidential debates.